Welcome to Inspiring Journeys. I'm Paul Stressner, and this is the podcast that shines a light on real stories of resilience, personal growth, and triumph. Each episode, we dive into the moments that challenge us and breakthroughs that define us. So, if you're ready for a dose of motivation, insight, and inspiration to fuel your journey, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome to back to Inspiring Journeys. It's Paul here, and Kerri is here as well this time.
Hello.
No Adriana this week, but as we usually do, we'll start off with what we're grateful for, and then we'll introduce our awesome guest. So, Kerri went first last week, so we'll do Age Before Beauty this time. So, um, so the thing I'm grateful for, I want to like reflect on like um two celebrities that we lost recently, and I'm just grateful for the works that they've done. That was Carl Weathers, who was like Apollo Creed, Action Jackson, and just roles with Happy Gilmore, and then most recently Mandalorian. And yeah, he just seemed like a positive force to me. I really loved all his work. And then last week we lost Toby Keith to stomach cancer, which yeah, that I always loved Toby Keith. Like
Mhm.
some people here might know that like I was really into like 80s rock music and everything. And then grunge came around and then all my bands were disappearing. So then I turned to country music and yeah, he was up there. Yeah, I loved his music. And then How Do You Like Me Now came out and I was like hooked ever since. I bought every single CD the day they came out. And then being a veteran, he really he really supported the veterans more than like any other artist that I know. He really went in there with he went to all the places, all the bases and everything. And his songs, I had to look up to see if he was actually, if he had served or not, because he really got everything dead on, especially the song American Soldier. So yeah, and I've seen him in concert so many times. So I really appreciate everything they've left us. So it's sad, but they left us a great amount of work. So
Mhm.
thank them for that. Okay, Kerri?
I'm grateful for today where I live. I'm from Boston originally. That's where I was born and raised, and I'll always have Boston in my heart. And I always am like, man, like I wish I was back down there. Like I miss being down there. But today, like I was out doing all of the things that I needed to do, and just like looking out over the mountains and just like the stillness and quiet of where we live and just the peacefulness of it all. And so, as much as I complain about the distance of how to get to places that I need to go to do the things I do, I really do appreciate that the calmness of our area that we live in, and that it's not always crazy, it's not always hectic. There's a moment of peace and just a moment where you can kind of reflect and just be still. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful to be able to have that, because I know a lot of people don't get that, opportunity to be able to walk outside their door and just be like, it's like, a nice breeze, like there's beautiful mountains all around. And so I'm grateful for where I live.
Yeah, it's
Love
beautiful
it.
there all year round and everything. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love it up there. All right, this brings us to our guest, and I hope you're all ready to be fired up and inspired today. As you'll
Yep.
hear, as you'll hear, Jenn Gray has been on an adventurous, inspiring life journey. She's a proud single mom of four children, an entrepreneur, and the host of the incredible podcast Be Genuine with Jenn, which can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you can stream podcasts. I present to you the authentic, charismatic, empowering, badass mama, Jenn Gray.
What's up? Thank you. That was quite an
Welcome.
intro. I appreciate it. It's super awesome to be here. So I'm excited to talk and hang out and inspire a couple people. So let's do this thing.
Yes, yeah. Um, and we met like kind of recently, like
Mhm.
through like once again CLS. We constantly there'll be like a common denominator a lot with through
Yeah.
Greg Siegel. Um, so you had joined that group recently, but I guess
Mhm.
let's start how I guess we could lead up to that. You can start how you grew up. You give your
Yeah.
story there because it's pretty, powerful, I think. So.
Mhm.
Well, thanks. Yes, and I'll just add in what I'm grateful for because I love
Oh,
that.
oh,
I
sorry.
think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
also, no, you're totally good. You're totally good. I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I'm going to just jump
Yep,
in that gratitude
for
party.
sure.
Because I think that honestly, one of my favorite quotes, and I'll get to what I'm grateful for, is the fact that anxiety and gratitude cannot literally exist in your brain at the same time. And so I think as I'll share my journey, that in all of the hard valleys of life, that was something that I just clung so hard to, was that, okay, I can find something to be grateful for. And so today, I am an avid worker outer, or whatever, you want to call it. And I wasn't always like that. That's a part of my journey too. So this morning I was at the gym, and there was a gentleman working out in a machine next to me. And I mean, y'all, he had to have been, I don't know, upper 70s, maybe with a cane, could barely walk. And I just thought about how grateful I was for how easy it was for me to get around. Right. I mean, I can go, 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 go. I mean, minus Atlanta traffic, that delays me a bit, but like I'm not, I can go as fast as my Kia Sorento will take me.
Mhm.
And just to think about how hard it must have been for him to get up and get to the gym at 7 o'clock this morning. And yet, despite all of that he showed up. And so it was gratitude for just perspective. And then also just for the fact that I can move and that all four limbs work, with great health and all of that. So,
Yeah. Talk about motivation, man. Like seeing that and
right?
being like, if you're struggling and you look over and you see like 70-year-old man, like doing it and like getting it done, you're like, I can do this. Like,
Mhm.
let's go, let's do this.
Exactly. I'm like, all the excuses I thought I had, I don't have those anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
if he can do
Right.
it,
Mhm.
I totally can.
That's a good one.
So okay, so you guys just interrupt me as you want to. So I grew up in Atlanta. Atlanta's hometown for me. I'm about 30 minutes outside of the city, and life was pretty good. I'm oldest of three girls. My dad, though, was an alcoholic, really started like my late elementary years. And so I don't know, I'm sure a lot of listeners, if you go through seasons where you have an addictive parent, you essentially become a third parent. And so that's really the role I was. I was a caretaker. I was more of the disciplinarian that kind of supports my mom, really, than I ever got to experience being a daughter per se. So that was how I was made, right? I can take care of people. And so that was, so move forward. So actually in my adolescent years, I developed a condition called trichotillomania. And so because of all of the trauma I experienced, trichotillomania is a disease. Essentially, it's a disorder where you pull your hair, and it's very similar to cutting or other ways where you're alleviating the stress of your life. Well, y'all, I was as confused as can be. I'm like, why is this going on? And went to the doctor. One of like those like spotlight moments of life. My parents took me to the doctor, and the doctor looked at my parents and said, she needs to go see a psychiatrist. And I remember the look in my dad's face was of utter horror. Like I was like an embarrassment of, oh wait, this isn't just something medically. And he's like, she's not crazy and not whatever. And at 14 years old, I took on this weight of I cannot embarrass my family.
Oh,
And
wow.
so ultimately I carried a story that was not true. They said, I heard this other term in that doctor's office, said it could be alopecia areata. That's an autoimmune disease. That sounded safer, right? Like that wasn't that in my own perspective, that wasn't my fault, right? Like that's an autoimmune thing. So you guys, I embraced it. I held it. I had Emory doctors diagnose me with alopecia areata. I spoke on stages talking to girls about their worth and all of that. And I think what's cool about what I can share with you guys now on this side of my story is the lessons I learned in that season were still true. Like my worth is way deeper than skin deep, right? Like this is all fleeting. And our heart for people is what ultimately matters. Our impact on other people is the beauty that we should want to obtain. All of that was still true. But the important piece that I've now gotten to work through and go through is that the piece that we think that it's shameful to struggle, like that there is shame around the fact that trauma created a condition in my body, and I was dealing with it in the way my body was conditioned to do to protect me or to give me some type of peace in the midst of craziness. And so I came out, I guess, essentially in 2020 and said, y'all, this is not my story. I have been hiding for the wrong people for a long, long, long time. And there needs to be freedom in my life and freedom for other people who may feel that same shame. And so that was a huge brushstroke of my life that ultimately, affected so much of it. I ended up getting in a marriage because I was going to be a caretaker, and I, just married him right out of college. I knew I wanted to speak to high school girls. So that's a little bit of my past life. I feel like I live like two lives in one so far. So I actually worked in the context of the church, and I spoke to high school girls. I wanted to be for them what I needed in high school. So I did that, and I have 4 amazing kiddos. And then through that, I knew I had to have a husband to have that position. I knew, so it was like that. It was like a point A to point B. I can take care of him essentially. Fast forward to 2018, I knew that this marriage, it was done. And so in that season, I lost my job, I lost my career, I lost my community, I lost essentially family, I lost everything because the culture that I was in this, it was Southern Baptist. I'm not here to knock anything. This is just my own experience,
Yep. No, I get it.
That I was no longer an asset. I was now a liability. Mm-hmm. And I had to go through the pain of understanding that because of the truth of my life, I was no longer accepted here. And it was one of the greatest freedoms of my life because it allowed me to go to the bottom of all bottoms. And it caused me to have a heart of empathy like I never knew before, of just knowing everybody has a story, knowing that my influences, even though a pastor told me my influence was done if I chose to go through with this divorce, I'm like, no, I don't think you get this,
right?
It's not. In fact, there's freedom. And so, so that was a restart, rebuild. But I didn't learn my lesson. I got in a relationship just shortly, like a year or so after, and that ended abruptly in March. And fast forward, I built a great business in insurance. I think that's probably the most random part. How does someone who works with high school girls end up in insurance? I wanted to add value to people, and I met an amazing group of people in an agency. Built that with the wrong person, and ultimately had to free myself and my kids from that relationship, and had $18 and was essentially homeless for a season last year. And knew that the freedom and the strength came from knowing that I will never be treated like that again. Right. Like that was what allowed me to step one foot in front of the other. And so this past year has been reinvention from the absolute bottom of the bottom. I thought I was brought to the bottom in 2019, but 2023 is like, hold my beer. Like, let me just show you.
Just a second. Right? Let me show you what we can do now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm back in Atlanta. I was in Texas for a couple of years and back in Atlanta, and building this on my own. I'm super excited to be building it alongside people that I'm aligned with. I learned a valuable lesson too, that alignment is everything when you're building anything. And it's about core values. It's not necessarily alignment in industry. It's about who they are behind closed doors. It's about building it with the people of integrity, kindness, empathy, character. So it's kind of like everything got stripped away, and I'm only bringing back the pieces that honor who I am to my core. And so, is everything rainbows and butterflies? No, but it's okay. And there's peace, and there's healing, so much healing, so much forgiveness, and so much just understanding that your authenticity is your superpower, and the realest version of you is what's going to impact so many other people. Strip down all the masks that you're wearing and just step into your purpose. And so that's what brought me to Craig with Reinvention Formula. And that was such a godsend to my life in 2023. And now I'm connected to a really cool community, and just building this thing, building an agency, build a podcast, and trying to inspire other people that we only get one life. Let's go all in and let's just do this thing. So there's my story, and then that's not incredible. So small nutshell.
That's awesome. What a story. I completely agree that, you know, like you think that you've hit rock bottom and then like you hit like the next series of events and you're like, oh my God, this is like so much worse than what it was before. And because I thought I had hit rock bottom in 2019 when my mom passed away. That was like complete destruction for me and like something that I spiraled and I was like, this is the worst point that like I like this is gotta be like rock bottom. And then my dad got sick in 2021 and ended up in the ICU for like 6 months. And when he came out of it, he was a completely different person. It sparked like dementia and it's just been a complete downward spiral since 2021. And I look back on the person that I was in 2019 compared to the person that I am now and what I'm able to handle. Cause the last year has been it's been devastating to watch him completely like degrade and, you know that like the end is coming and to be able to process and handle that and be stronger about it and be like, okay, like we're going to get through this. We're going to like take a look and see what the day has to bring. We're going to get through each step as we have to, and we're just going to move forward. I don't think in 2019, I feel like I probably would have crumbled completely. Like, I don't think that I would have been able to handle that. So it's cool to see that progression of this. Each event in your life happens for a reason, right? And it just builds you up to be stronger and stronger and
Yep.
stronger and stronger to be able to handle the things in life that come at you. So
Absolutely, with the right
that.
mindset. And I think that's
Mhm.
what you've learned as well, right? Other
Yep.
people take really, really small things and they just jump into the victim mentality. And I just like
Mhm.
my heart breaks for that mental space, right?
Mhm.
Because that's where even in March, I was like, I could blame 100 people for why I am right here, but what good does that do me? I'm giving the microphone of my life to somebody else and giving them the power to write my
Mhm.
story. But I love what Tony Robbins says, right? Life happens for you, not to you. And when
Yep.
you believe that, then just like what you just said, you
Yep.
you only have one option. That's you become stronger. You become, your confidence stacks, your strength grows, your love for people grows. And I think it's important to not get bitter and hard in those seasons, but to allow yourself to use that vulnerability to help other people and become the roadmap.
Mhm.
Because look, my mindset is the only reason I'm still standing today. And that's even a huge thing because I could have just been a victim, right? I could have just
Yep.
been like, oh, tapped out, I'm done. But I think that you're right. It's such a gift when we use those low times as a gift.
Mhm. 100%. 100%.
And you went through all that as a child, but then and then you were helping like the girls you were saying. So
Mm-hmm.
what was that? What did that entail? But
Yeah. So when I went to college, I actually went to college at Liberty University in Virginia, and I loved it. And in that, what I saw is I guess a culture as far as like in the church, you have like a student pastor and it's always a male figure. And I just saw even as culture is changing, there needs to be a female voice that's
mhm.
that's louder than just like a secretary.
Mhm.
So in that space, I'm like, I want to essentially become revolutionize that space and do that. So I became a girls ministry director. It's just a fancy term to say I mentored, I did events, I would host events for girls all over the community. My thing, I created events. It was like my pride and joy. It's called The Table. And the whole idea was that we all belong. I don't care what you did last week. I don't care if you've never been to a church. I don't care what your story is. Like you deserve to have people around you supporting you and lifting you up. I don't care, what your story is. And
Mhm.
so that was the hardest part because I created an event called The Table. And then all of a sudden I wasn't welcomed at the table
Oh, wow.
anymore. And dealing with that level of loss of this is the antithesis of everything that I created. So, but yeah, I got to be like over 500 girls from around our community all over like a once a month event. And so it was so fun. I absolutely love that season of life. And I think it'll be recreated just in a different platform.
Yeah.
Eventually it's all building, but yeah, definitely love,
Do
speaking
you,
into that age range.
do you still see any of them? Like, did any of them
It's
take my mantle and do something
yeah,
similar?
that's probably the hardest question, Paul, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
because that's the way it was handled, there's so much that just I had to leave unsaid. And I wish I could just gather them all in a big room and give them all a big hug and tell them that, you know, I never stopped loving them and all of that. But yeah, I still definitely see some of them. But yeah, it was an unfortunate loss though in all of that, because I feel like they experienced the shrapnel of the explosion of me leaving the church, and it was unnecessary pain that I wish I could fix, but unfortunately it was too big that I wasn't able to fix. But time will tell. That's why I just, you know, it's like there's so much healing and there's, you know, so much. So
yeah, sometimes it just, you know, it's hard to go through things like that and to know that there's repercussions that other people have to endure because of what happened. But at the same time, I think, you know, stepping away the way that you did and handling it in the way that you did, or from what, at least from the way it sounds, gives them an opportunity at some point to maybe somewhere down the line when it's time to understand better what happens.
100%.
Because, you know, when you're in it in that moment, I feel like it's better to almost pull yourself away when it's in an emotional state and to really gather your thoughts and feelings and then approach that situation, as opposed to like that gut reaction of like, let me tell you what really like went down and you know. And
100%,
so, right, you know, so I think handling it the way that you did in that moment, it's hard, and for it can be hard for them to maybe wrap their heads around why it ended that way. But in time and perspective and all that, I feel like it'll eventually iron itself out.
Yeah, I exactly what you just said. I've watched it in other areas of my life. It's like the truth always comes out, and all we can do is be empathetic and available. And so as soon as there's any, people have reached out, even since I have been back to Georgia. And again, that's where I think there is so much power in forgiveness. It is way, 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 way deeper than just I'm sorry. And I didn't know that. I didn't understand that before I went through all this, y'all. I didn't have an enemy. I liked everybody. I thought everybody liked Jenn, right? Like we're just all big one happy party. And now all of a sudden I'm like, wait, now I have like a lot of haters. Like I am like the anti-hero of all this now. And like, what in the world? And so there's a lot of it that I shut down and just focus on my kids. And through that, when there's silence, there's a lot of filled in narrative. And so just to know that like the truth comes out and that healing ultimately comes out, and where, I can step in humility and can be met with that. But I think that's powerful in our lives to get to a place where for me, I had to have empathy on the people that hurt me in that season, and understand in their mentality, in their mindset, in the culture they were in, they responded as the culture would have them respond. And I can understand that now. At first it just hurt. Right. But I think that's where when you have a heart and you want to heal and you want to seek that forgiveness, then stepping into their shoes, it doesn't condone hurtful things, but it allows a different perspective, and it truly allows you to release the weight of all of that you bear. And that's really, I think, what 2023, the powerful part for me, was the release of so much just like hard things that had gone on, and just fear and, fight or flight and all of that. And I'm like, I just want peace, y'all. And, getting to that point and allowing yourself to actually heal and deal with the things that it's just sometimes so easier to throw under the rug. But, that's been powerful for sure in my life.
Yeah, I can see that 100%.
Yeah, I guess we could also get into, I really enjoy your health journey too. You lost 60 pounds in 3 months. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So in 2018, I decided I had I have 4 kids, and my youngest was born in 2016. And so in 2018, I was like, I am tired of just feeling like I have 4 kids, like I want to take more ownership of this, not be passive. And so I didn't know how long it was going to take. I started doing Whole30 first. And then after I did Whole30, that was really just to kind of get my body back in the right thing. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but really just go into all natural.
The reset, right? It's like that reset button. Yeah.
Complete reset button.
And you get rid of like all what is it, like the gluten, carbs?
Yeah. So you only eat things that you only eat like vegetables, fruits, meats. There's no dairy, there's no sugar, there's no grains. It's just literally meats and dairy, or no, sorry, meats and vegetables and fruits. And it was the discipline that I needed. And I'm super competitive. And so I was like, I just need a challenge that I would refuse to say no to. And I loved how I felt. And that's how it all started. I was like, oh my goodness. I didn't realize how much of my funk in the afternoons was because of the food I was eating. And then I added in workouts. And so between doing Whole30, and then I did 2 months straight of, I did T25 by Beachbody. I already had that program. So I was like, let's just do that 25 minutes. And I lost 60 pounds in that 3-month period. And I'm like, yo, if you had told me last year it was going to take me 3 months to do it, I would have done it way sooner. I'm thinking this may be a year-long journey, but here we go. It's never going to happen unless I start. And so, then I've been, maintaining it, and it's not been perfection since then, but it completely changed me. So I switched in my mindset to, I am someone who works out. Not like, oh, I have to work out. Like, no, now it's just, it would be more far-fetched for me not to work out. And for seasons and years of my life, it wasn't that. And then just the flip switched, and you realize you can take those reins back, take control, and set new disciplines and completely change, how you feel and all that. So yeah, it was definitely, it was a really cool journey. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's cool to, when you hit that point of like, this is something that's part of me, this is who I am. It's not because I'm doing it because I want to lose weight. It's not because I'm doing it because of X, Y, and Z. Like, obviously I want to stay healthy, but it's just it's part of my life, like I feel better when I do it mentally. I feel better when I do it physically. Like, Clint, one of my friends, Clint, told me this great thing about how, when you're in your funk and your body's just blah, like it's feeling like it's kind of like reminding your body that like it's dying, right? And so when you exercise and you get the blood moving and you're moving around, it's reminding your body that you're alive and that you're thriving. And so like, that's how I always think of it now. It's like, this is my opportunity to thrive. This is my opportunity to feel alive and energized. And it was a cool perspective to hear, because I was like, that really does make sense. Like, even when you're sick and you're just like, I don't want to do anything, I just want to lay here because I feel horrible. Even being able to like pull yourself up and like do 10 minutes of something to just move the blood just a little bit, it always makes, at least for me, it always makes me feel just a little bit better and a little bit more energized and feeling like I can pull through whatever the day, sickness or whatever is upon me. So I completely get that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I couldn't imagine not doing it in the morning just because of how I feel, right? Like, and that it affects your brain, affects how I think, it affects the energy that I have. And I'll just throw in too, that's something that's been since like the beginning of January. I got a gym membership at a different gym so that my daughter could go for free with me whenever she's 14. And she's my orchestra girl, so I played volleyball. Like, I was always into sports. And so I'm like, I don't know what to tell you to do, like, you're not playing anything. Like, what are we going to do? Well, she loves the gym. So I was like, so I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to go every morning at 5:00. But if you want to go like after school or whatever, I just want you to know I got the membership that you can come for free with me. So whenever you want to, you're more than welcome. And we're into the first 11 days of February. So since the beginning of January, she's gone to the gym every weekday with me at 5 a.m. in the morning. And she's like, no, she's like, can I go at 5 in the morning? And I'm like, are you sure you want to, like, that's really early, and all that thing. But to watch her confidence, to watch her change, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so cool. It's one thing to watch your own life. It's another thing. I'm like, nobody will ever get to convince her the rest of her life that working out doesn't affect so much more than even just her body. And to watch, just that's been my favorite transformation so far, is just to watch her confidence skyrocket by saying yes to herself every morning at 5 a.m. as a 14-year-old girl. So it's been super cool.
Impressive. That's awesome. My niece, niece recently did that. Like last year, she started going to the gym and she started, lifting and doing all of those things. And she's stayed consistent with it throughout the last year. Every day after school, she goes down to the gym and she does her workout, and the confidence in her is night and day. It's a whole different person, and she thrives on that. She loves it. It's not like this, like annoying task that a teenage, like that attitude that teenagers get where they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like this is the last thing. Like she is happy. She's excited to go. She puts the work in. It's not like, that she's just going down there and lifting a couple of weights and then calling it, like she's putting in the work for it. And the confidence that comes from her is incredible. So and that, I think like the mindset, or I hope that we're changing the mindset, right, with the girls around us, and that like, it's about being healthy and it's about feeling comfortable in yourself and, being proud of who you are. And that's why you decide to make these changes and to do these things versus, I don't know about like what your culture was like growing up, but like in my growing up culture, it was very much like, oh, you have to lose weight. Like you have to diet, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to look a certain way. And like that diet culture mantra that like all of us younger girls went through,
which leads to eating disorders.
Right.
Right.
So like, it's always been with me, with my daughter, I've always been like, it's never been, no, you can't eat that. Like, you can't have this, you can't have that. It's always been like, are you hungry? Go for it. Like, have what you want to eat. Like, it's all in moderation. Like, obviously I'm not going to sit there and let you have like a whole bag of candy because, but like, if you want a piece of candy or a couple pieces, go for it. Like, it's not a big deal. And like, she goes out, she'll run around, she does karate, she does all the things that she wants to do. And it's on her terms and not forcing her to do it. She has chosen to go ahead and do that. And I think that's a huge shift in mentality of thinking. It's just that you're giving them those tools and you're giving them that confidence and mindset to be like, be proud of who you are and gain that confidence.
Right. It's so good. So good.
I'm impressed that 14-year-old want to get up at 5 a.m. That's like a miracle in itself. So.
Right. I mean, there was even one morning, it was like 11 degrees here. And I'm like, it's really cold. It's okay if you don't want to go. And then another night she like had this big event she was going to, and it was like a sleepover. I'm like, well, you're going to be up really late. You don't have to. And she's like, Mom, I'm still going. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just preparing you for the voices in your head that you're going to have later. I've tried to convince you some days not to go. And you're just like, no, you're going, I'm going. And I'm like, well, then I will always go.
Accountability partner.
Right? Exactly.
There, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then that physical journey, and then you're like changing your life. Do you wanna? I love Jessie Lee Ward. Did you know her? You knew her, so could you speak?
Totally. Yes. So Jessie Lee Ward, she was my business coach. She was my friend. I never did business. Like I wasn't in her company or in her team. I was introduced to her actually way back in 2020, the middle of the pandemic. She was on a free training that Eric Worre, who's in network marketing space, he was hosting online. And it's normally a big event. They did it virtual. And I was introduced to her, and she was all over the place, so much energy, and just, it's like you watch this whole presentation and you're like, which one of these is not like the other? And I'm like, that's my girl. Like, she is all herself. She just like owned it and her quirkiness. And I was like, so much hope that she has made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And she did it by being true to who she was. And I followed her from afar for a while. Actually, one of my cool stories was in 2022, maybe 2021. I guess 22, she had posted that whoever was local, and I was in Texas at the time, she left her luggage was lost. It had been delivered, but she was flying out at like 6:00 the next morning. She's like, this is a crazy ask, but can anybody pick up my luggage? Well, I saw it, but like 11 minutes later, and y'all know 11 minutes on social media is like an eternity, right? And so I'm like, oh, she's probably had,
especially somebody like her. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, how many people would not want to go meet Jessie Lee and bring her luggage, And so I responded, and because we had gone back and forth, even though it was just through social media, we had a relationship. And she's like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Could you go? And I was like, I did not expect you to respond. So it was so fun getting to meet her in person and just getting to talk. And I mean, it was midnight. She was exhausted, but she just talked with me and we hung out, and it was so, so cool. And so when she did her actual business coaching, I was probably one of the first ones just to say, yes, 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 whatever you're going to do. Because although, like I said, I'm not in the same industry, I do build my agency. I do health insurance and life insurance. I build my agency completely through networking and social media, and everything that I do, I learned from her. And then in 2023, in February, she was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of colon cancer.
Ugh.
And then she passed away in September of 2024. I mean, 34 years old, an absolute picture of health, the pinnacle of her career, just everything. And so that was, my own life had its own just like downfall of 2023. That was an unexpected, huge loss. I'd never had a business coach before. I never, followed somebody like that. And it was it was a loss that was felt around the world. But the personal loss was very, very deep. I mean, she had a lot of belief in me, and it's actually a lot of the reason I started my podcast the week after she passed away, because she told me to do it about 3 months before that. And I'm like, okay, today's it. So, and then I was actually reading the chapter in Craig Siegel's book, called Messy Action. And it was like in that same week, I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to do with this chapter called Messy Action. I'm supposed to start this. And even though to the world, you think you're going to put a podcast in this space because you're an expert in something, right? Like that's the thing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to create this on my journey to rebuilding and my journey. And I'm not going to give up on myself till I get to all these places that I want to go. But I also don't have to wait to have value. And so that's where Be Genuine with Jenn came from, was from Jessie Lee speaking that, just to pour value into other people, add value any way that you can. And I just jumped. And so I kind of wrapped that question into both things. So yes, Jessie Lee was and will always be probably the biggest influence in my life. And it's an honor every day. I feel like I'm just passing the baton of add value, add value, add value. And that's all I know how to do. And, is whoever's there to listen, but just show up and just have consistency. And she was, there's not a lot of people like her. So thanks for letting me talk about her. Appreciate that.
You can tell how much you admire her, just like the way that you're speaking about her and the way that your eyes light up and your smile, like you tell how deep that love and how much you miss her and that you're carrying it on. So you can definitely tell.
Yeah, I had just discovered her last year, and it might have been after she got her diagnosis. She was on, I believe it was like on Ed Milet's show. So I've been for a couple of years, and she was like such a force. And I just like fell in love instantly. And I knew about her diagnosis, and it wasn't good, but it felt like I really thought she was gonna like beat it. Like she just had that energy. Like if anybody's gonna do it, it's her. And then that was like a gut punch when. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Cause I mean, like 1 week before she passed away, she had just gotten great news. As she was doing a very holistic approach to just healing from all of this. But I mean, when she got diagnosed in February, it was already stage 4. She had no symptoms. It just went and had an MRI out of a Tony Robbins book that said, hey, let's just see where your life pulse is, like where your bottom numbers are when you're healthy. And that's what she went. And then her whole world got rocked. But yeah, I loved how real she was through the journey, but then also every single day she showed up. And to hear, she would be on a Zoom, and some people call her crazy. And I'm like, to me, it's just passion. Like a passion may look crazy to some people. That's totally fine. But I'll take passion over boring any day. But just like she would show up. And again, back to like my dude this morning in the gym, it's like 100 million excuses. Most people would have just tapped out and just said, I'm going to take time on my own. And, her work schedule significantly changed, but she never stopped pouring in. She never missed a coaching call with our business coaching. She never missed any of her accelerator calls, and she showed up. She was amazing.
Yeah, I absolutely love your podcast. Like, I know you felt
Thank
like you
you.
jumped into it, but like right from the start, like every single episode you've done so far is incredible. You have like
Mhm.
you
Thank
jumping out of my
you.
seat and everything. Yeah, it's so good.
You're awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
fire
for that.
people up. Yeah. So how did you come up with like Be Genuine?
Yeah. So way back when, be genuine. It's like even like my Gmail is even just be genuine at Gmail. So I don't have any numbers or asterisks or underscores. That's how OG my Gmail
Mhm.
was. It was like right when Gmail just first came out. Um, I I that was just always my mantra. And what's so crazy is to watch how that changed in the seasons of my life. And actually be genuine was in a season where I really wasn't. I wanted to have the power in my own authenticity. I wanted to believe that I was enough. But then fast forward, again, my favorite quote ever, and I live by it every single day. I think I've already even said it on this call, is your authenticity is your superpower. And
Mhm.
so stepping into that and knowing that you've got to be genuine, and to know that it's safe to be genuine, to know that that's what like actually lights other people up. That's where you can intersect your journey with other people, is when you just show up as you, all of you. And it's gone are the days where we have to put on the mask and the filter and pretend like it's all okay. And I think that that's powerful that our culture is shifting in that direction. And I just want that to be elevated and just say, like that's what drew me to Jessie Lee, was her energy and the fact that she was crazy, like legit crazy. Like, and she was much more refined in 2023 than she was in 2020. She was just like all over the place, but she led with heart, and you could see that in everything that she did. And so just a testimony to all of us that everybody has a story,
Mhm.
and your story is your story, and to own it and to step into that and use your story, as we talked about earlier, to help others, because it happens for you, not to you. And so that's where Be Genuine with Jenn. So we talk about everything from stepping into the mindset of being genuine, to building a business on social media and being genuine, and just life, and stepping into forgiveness, and just different aspects of what an authentic words life looks like,
Mhm.
in different areas. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like if you're just copying somebody else, like the format of somebody else, you're not gonna stand out, and you're
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
gonna, touch people's lives that way. So
Mhm.
Yep, so true.
yeah.
Authenticity, it's powerful and it's strong. And you can tell the ones that truly have embraced that authentic self, because it's effortless, right? Like that's,
Mhm.
whenever you see them, you know that you're getting that person, and it never shifts. And I like, for the people, and I get it, because like I've been there in the past too, where like it's taken me a while to get to the point where I'm just like, this is who I am. Like, this is how I'm going to be, so that, people see me for who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. And I'm proud of, the scars that I've gotten.
Mm.
And, I'm proud of the failures, because like, Lord knows I have tripped and fallen plenty of times during
Yep.
the course of my career and my life. And it's okay to have those failures. And it's okay to be upfront and honest with people about those failures, because I think that people learn from other people's mistakes too. And so like,
Yep.
for them to understand like, oh, well, like I look up to this person, and like to be able to say like in my case, I'm a photographer. I edit, I do all these different things, and I mentor kids, and I also teach students up at the college. So I'm always like, I'm not perfect. Like, I have done things that like I have messed up on. Like, I have messed up on stories. I have messed up on shoots that I was supposed to do. I have failed in more ways than I
Mm-hmm.
can count. And so when I tell you the things that I don't want you to do, or it's because it's come from a place of, I've gone through that. Like, and like, I'll tell them stories of it too. Like, I'll go and be like, there was a time that like I didn't set up my camera right, and my tripod fell down, and I smashed my lens into a smithereens, and I had to tell my chief photographer that I broke the camera lens. So like, when I tell you like, make sure your camera tripod is locked down, I've been through, and I just don't want you to feel like what I went through.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a respect in being able to be authentic and to admit your failures and to admit where you've misstepped and how you've come through it. And if you haven't come through it, right? Like there are
Right.
moments still that you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to like navigate through it, and to admit that you're not perfect with something and that you're still trying and that you're still trying to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Shows a level of authenticity that people grab onto and are like, okay, this is the person that I want to engage with. This is the person that I want to be around, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that. And that's one of my favorite thoughts, is the fact that people disqualify themselves too easily, right?
Mhm.
Or they assume that if you've gotten somewhere, it must have been easy for you, right? And I think that people get this idea in their mind. Of course, you look on social media. I'm not here to bash social media. I build everything on social
Right.
media, right? It's not to bash it, but if we don't look at it with the lens of, okay, hello, this is social media. What is appears is not what's actually being, in real life. And we take it for what it is. But the power of actually showing the mess and letting the mess be your message and letting people connect to that and say, okay, hold on. So you went through all of that. That's why one of the reasons I love Ed Milet. He's super honest about his childhood with his dad and all that he went through and everything. And yet you're like, okay, this dude's worth like lots of zeros and behind his, millions, like a ton. So if you're looking at that as you're being your success, his life didn't come to him in a silver spoon. He worked hard and he showed up, and that's the power of when you just like connect with people. So I always joke on my podcast. I'm like, hey, if you are looking for a podcast of someone who has achieved massive success, I can give you a list of them. All right. I listen to them, I have some amazing ones. But if you're looking for a place to come and grow together and learn together and embrace a powerful mindset that's going to get us through every hurdle of our life, and we're going to do that together, then you're in the right place. So that's me realizing that being fake didn't get me any, it got me into a divorce and broken relationship and a whole lot of pain. But, that's why it's burn it to ashes and then build it back, with only the pieces you want to build it with. So.
Yeah. And so with my social media, like if you follow my fitness account, I'm very much of the mindset of, I have really more often than not really bad run days, and I'm not the fastest person in the world. And like, I don't claim to be. Like, what you see is what you get. And so if you want to follow the shenanigans of like my failures and my tiny successes that I have every once in a while, then like more power to it. But if you're looking for somebody that's going to be like running a 7.5 minute mile every single day, like that's not me. Like I'm more like, I'll embrace days where I'm running 18-minute miles and days that I'm running an 11-minute mile. And both of those are authentic days. Like it's like, that's what you're going to find. And that's something that like I've tried to cultivate on my platform, because there's so many fitness accounts out there that it's just like, you look at them and you're just like, oh, like I'm not good enough because I'm not doing what this person is. I don't look like this person. I'm doing all the same exercises as this one. I'm working out twice a day. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why am I not getting faster? Why is my body like not toning up? And I think it's important to realize that what you see on social media isn't always that authentic, right? And so to have more accounts where it's just like, this is who I am. This is what you're going to see. Like, you're going to see me try to do, monkey bars and fall flat on my face halfway through. And I'm going to show you that, because that's the process of what it took for me to get to the fact that I can now do X, Y, and Z. And it wasn't easy. And it took time, and it's taken effort to get to that point and that success. And even though I get to that success, I still have fallbacks, right? Like that's the other part of it. Like you can reach a point where you're like, okay, like I've hit this goal. And then the reality of life and like what's going on inside of your body, what's going on with your life, your stresses, all of that stuff can take you from where you were and bring you back a little bit. And that's okay. It's okay to go back. And as long as you know how to pick yourself up and move forward again and dust yourself off and say, let's start again, that's what like I value, right? Like those people that are just like, acknowledge that you're got times when you're going backwards and going forward afterwards.
I love that. That's awesome. That's so because you're going to inspire people who an 18-minute mile will be a goal for them, and they can see that, you're real. And I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Otherwise they just like give up, say, oh, I can never do that. And
right.
that's how you lose people. So
Yeah, it's like the run groups. I have like massive anxiety with running groups. Like I like never put myself in them because they're like all runners. Like we accept
Mhm.
all runners. And then I'm like, you don't accept all runners. Like
Yeah.
Right.
I can see you, I'm waving to you as you're like flying.
Yeah, yeah. You're like all marathon runners,
Right.
maybe, but like every day, like just trying to make it. Like, I don't know. That's
Oh,
funny.
well, speaking of growing together, Jen just started a book club that
I
we can
did.
all read along and follow along. So yeah, you want to get into that?
Yeah, I would love to. So again, what you just start to look like what value can you bring to people? I think all of us, it's important for us to figure out what we can bring to the table. And for some of you guys, it's probably you can make these really, really cool things and you have an Etsy shop, or some of you, run your own business, or some of you have digital courses, or some of you can do a fitness, blog, or have a fitness account that's inspiring other people. And so for me, I watched my mindset completely shift when I was introduced to personal development books. And that may seem crazy. I've been in leadership for decades of my life, but when it was in the context of the culture that I was in, those books weren't encouraged, right? It was just it wasn't invited. Nobody was reading these, kind of, inspirational, motivational books. And so I didn't read any. And then I guess it was 2020 was introduced to the magic of thinking big, and everything shifted. It was almost like I just discovered this whole new realm of life, and I didn't even it all these limiting beliefs started appearing so I could understand them as limiting beliefs, and these these negative mindsets and the subconscious things that I had been programmed in, and all of this was just coming to light. And so I went from, it's the irony is funny. I need to go back to like my high school lit teacher and be like, listen, you're never going to guess when I'm starting, because I would be the last person on the planet to start a book club, because y'all, I did not read. I was too ADD for reading. I was like, Cliff Notes, yes, please. Okay. Like, I do not have time. I do not want to.
Right.
I cannot find a book that I actually even like. And, but it's funny because now my kids are like, Mom, all you do, like every morning, like, we just know you're going to go read. You're going to, and I'm like, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have known that, Mom, And so, there's other book clubs of people reading other kind of books. And I'm like, what? I just want to create a space for anybody who simply wants to grow. And maybe you're like me in 2020, you've never read a personal development book. You're like, what, huh? I don't even think I like to read. That's fine. Show up. You're going to get something out of it. We're going to learn. We're going to talk about some really amazing, mindset shifts. And maybe you can, take that homework and go. And so yeah, it's right now it's a Facebook group. We're starting 2/21/24. It'll be Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Of course, we'll record them, so we'll, they get access to it in the group. But I'm really excited. So we're gonna do Magic of Thinking Big as our first book. It just felt right to me, just like OG book that shifted my thinking. Where am I gonna go? Where am I gonna start? So that's what we're gonna start with, and then we'll just take it basically month by month, and we'll dive through some books. But yeah, we'll be live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if anybody is interested, the best place really is either find me somewhere on social. I can send you a link, or just definitely find me on Facebook. It's Jenn Gray, or it's at I'm Jenn Gray on Instagram, and I can send you the invite. And would love for anybody interested in growing to hop on in. And I'll bring the energy and passion. You bring a heart to change, and this is going to be a really, really cool experience. So.
Yeah, I love it. Especially like, yeah, being in a Facebook group, kind of like building a community there so we can all
Yeah.
like talk about it and everything. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't care what business you do. This is not a business
Mm-hmm.
pitch. This is not
Right.
anything. There's no like course at the end of all of this that you're gonna like have to buy into. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is just, let's just grow together. And I'm already reading, and I love teaching, and so I'm like, let's just do this thing. So I'm excited, and hopefully people will show up. But so far there's been great response. So I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
All right, and now yeah, we'll do the 22 too many, and then we'll get into our lightning round questions.
Okay.
How's that sound? Okay.
Here we go.
All
Lightning
right. So the 22 too many veteran today is Christopher Cooper. Christopher was from Magnolia, Texas, and served from 2004 until 2008. He completed basic in South Carolina and was stationed at Fort Hood and was a specialist. He served a year in Korea and a year in Iraq. Christopher loved the Houston Texans, the Houston Astros, and the Rockets. He loved music and his family. He had a heart of gold and a smile that would light up a room when he walked in. He struggled with PTSD and depression and got to where he couldn't fight the demons anymore. There were issues with the VA and his payments as well, as bills for his rent, phone, and groceries continued to pile up. And then from his mom, Laura said, he had a heart of gold and my blue-eyed angel.
Mm.
Yeah, that's like, it's so frustrating with all the medical issues in this country, and especially the veterans.
Right.
So.
I was just going to say, especially with the vets, it's
Yep.
just like, of all things, that should be the one thing that they never have to worry about ever, like how they're paying those bills, and even like their food bills and those things. Like you would think that like, they would be set, that that's something that they don't have to deal with, because they've got so much that they're already dealing with when they come back. And just we've talked before on the show about that adjustment process of being overseas and in it, and then coming back to the world that they once knew. Right, the world has changed completely since they've been here, like, but the world has moved on, and like it without them in it, and things have changed for them, and it's a complete adjustment from what it was out there, complete compared to what it is when they're at home. And so to go through that and the emotions that they go through, and then have that bills and all that other difficulty on top of it, it's too much. It's too much.
Mm-hmm. So rest in peace, Christopher. All right, and now we'll end things on a high note. We'll go through some lightning round questions for Jenn.
All right.
Number one, what's the most unexpected thing that has happened on your journey?
As you heard my journey, there's a lot of unexpected things on my journey. I think probably the biggest, like, funny, unexpected, we'll go lighthearted, is the fact that I'm in insurance, y'all. Like, I mean, It's almost as crazy as the book club. I think the fact that I wanted to add value to people and somehow ended up in life and health insurance is
so funny.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That is not what like I would envision. Like when
No,
Paul was telling me like about you, and like that's like insurance is not something that you would relate to, like the amazing person that I heard about.
Right. So what is funny about that is clearly I lead an agency very different than most of the people who have agencies. I'm like, you're going to come in here, you're going to be betting on yourself and believing in yourself more than you even thought, it's because we're independent agents. So it's not like I'm really like a boss, but I look for the right hearted people, and financially it can change your life. And if you look at it with the right perspective, then it can truly add value to people. So I love it. I never in a million years thought I would do it, but yeah. So
all right, what's your favorite quote or mantra that keeps you going? You probably have like a million of them. So.
I do. I mean, my absolute one is Jessie Lee, your authenticity is your superpower. I think this is maybe the fourth time I've said it on this podcast. So that definitely. Comparison is the thief of joy, by Roosevelt. That's my other favorite one. But yeah, your authenticity is your superpower is definitely my mantra.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. All right, and then if you could sum up in one sentence what you think got you where you are at this point, what would you say?
Okay, so I have to show you, but I have a tattoo on my wrist that says "Still I Rise," and that's what gets me through every day, even if it's one step forward, knowing that still I rise, still I can move forward, I can keep going. And so that's ultimately day in and day out what has me, believing still and waking up and going and doing. So yeah,
good one. I like that.
Yep, I like that a lot. Yep. All right, so I guess once again you could like let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on all the platforms. It's at I'm Jenn Gray on Instagram, TikTok, and then I'm on LinkedIn, of course. I'm on Facebook, Jenn Gray, based out of Woodstock, Georgia, so you can find me. So definitely, and I have my podcast, Be Genuine with Jenn, everywhere you listen to podcasts. Would love for you to listen and leave a review if it adds value to you. And then YouTube at I'm Jenn Gray. I think that's all my places. I'mJennGray.com is my website, but yeah. I think that's all the things.
Yeah, that's with 2 N's.
Oh yes, thank you for specifying. Yes, Jenn Gray, JENNGRAY. So yes, thanks for letting me clarify. So
yeah, she didn't say anything at the beginning. Everybody probably thought this was the star of Dirty Dancing. So.
I know, right? I'm so sorry to disappoint you, y'all. It's funny now. I feel like we're like whenever I used to go to a restaurant or go to a gas station and they'd be like, "Are you having the time of your life?" I'm like, "Oh, that's
Oh,
that's
boy.
funny." But now nobody knows Jennifer Gray. Like the 18-year-olds behind the cash register have no idea who she is, so I don't get that nearly as much. So thanks for remembering our baby. So
I love it.
That's awesome.
Kerri, you want to shout out your?
Let me see if I can do it right this week. It's there's this joke because my running coach, the first time that I was on his podcast, was giving me heck for, because like when I did my account to begin with, like I stupidly put underscores with it, or I don't think I actually put underscores. Maybe it was just like I put spacing and Instagram made it so so now it has underscores. He's like, that's a mouthful. And I was like, it's fine. And then last week I completely destroyed it. So see if I can do it this time. You can find me on Instagram at running_with_the_rockstar. Or you can get me on Facebook at Every Run Has a Story.
Oh, I love that.
And then you can find me personally as the Rhode Runner. It's RHODE on Instagram and Facebook, and we also have Inspiring Journeys Pod on Instagram and Facebook, and the email is inspiringjourneyspod@gmail.com. So, and thank you so much, Jen. This is so blessed. I'm so happy we met, friends and everything. You're incredible. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's awesome to get to connect with you guys. And Kerri, I'm definitely going to go follow you. I don't think I'm following you on Facebook yet, so I'm going to go.
Definitely.
So definitely great to get to know you.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
I was listening to the podcast the other day on my way up to school. I was really excited to get to chat with you because you have so much energy about, like, you just exude energy, and I love that when I meet somebody that's like that, because they just that energy that you give off comes onto you and just like gives you like this is gonna be good, this is gonna be awesome, I'm gonna have a good day. Like, so thank you for giving me that boost and making me feel energized by the energy that you're giving off, which I think is just absolutely credible, and you're doing amazing work out there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that deeply. Thank you.
It truly is genuine. That's what makes it really stand out. So for sure. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.
Yay.
Awesome. And remember,
be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!
Sit, Lizzie, sit. Good dog.